Awesome. Hi, Tannushree, and hi, everyone. Welcome to yet another session on Know Your Pet, where we talk about essentially everything there is to know about pets as well as community animals, and we try to connect with experts across food, nutrition, veterinary sciences, behavior, and so on and so forth to kind of shed some light and demystify certain things we all struggle with as pets. So Tannushree here, I'll quickly introduce her. She's an awesome person. I met her very recently. I was connected to her.
Thank you.
No, you are. You've really been an inspiration for me so far. But Anushka connected us, and I, in fact, had been interacting with Tannushree, but we ended up meeting on a trek at two Diggy Hills, where Tannushree was kind enough to invite me and show me a new place. And it was amazing because it was raining, and we had about 12 dogs with us who were basically running around, taking us. We walked for about 8 kilometers in a completely forested area, and we had Forest, we had Dawn, we had Momo, we had Saiba, and so many others with us who were having so much fun. And that's where I got to kind of started talking with Tannushree and you know came across some conversations that we thought were very important to have with people and decided to do this session. So besides being an awesome trekker, awesome, dog, cat, all sorts of mom, she just loves all animals and takes care of them. She's a certified training professional, graduate from British Institute of Professional Dog Training in UK. She specializes in working trials, search and rescue dogs, therapy dogs, service dogs, and she's worked internationally in the UK and the US for over 15 years, and now she works in India. And besides that, Tannushree has also been the founder of Paws Training Academy, which I know has been handling some of the most difficult cases, and we'll talk about some of them today, hopefully. And she's the vice chair at SAS, Society for Animal Safety, where she very passionately works for animal rights, harassment, etc., etc. And I know that if you were to call up Tannushree at any time, chances are you'll find her at a court or rescuing or taking some sick animal to hospital. That's how it's been for me every time I call her. She's busy with somebody or the other. But thank you, Tannushree, for doing this. I'm so excited that we finally got you on board to talk to people. And I just want to start with, the starting point of our interaction, which was at the trek, and where we met a bunch of your kids, most of whom are rescue kids. And
They're
I
all
just think
rescue.
they're all rescues. So why don't we start with I don't want to say my favorite, they're all my favorites, but I still fell in love with Forest, the big baby girl that you have. And if you want to tell us about Forest's story, the Saint Bernard who came into your life, and what's been the journey with her.
Okay, well, first of all, I thank you, and I definitely personally thank Wiggles for having me on this session. That was a very long introduction. I didn't even know I had done so much. However, and hello to everybody who's listening, watching today. So, yes, Prashant, you're absolutely right. As a pet parent, for me, I love them all to bits. But you wanted me, because Forrest, of course, is our youngest rescue. Her story, I would not say is unique, because every rescue story is unique, but it's quite, you know, gut wrenching when you get to know somebody torturing a puppy. I mean,
Mm,
Forrest, as a little pup, was found in a slum in Mumbai by a rescue volunteer who found out that she was being mercilessly beaten by small kids,
mm,
age group of somewhere between 6 and 11.
mm,
For just entertainment and their fun, they thought it was fun to be beating up a really cute, helpless puppy. And she also used to be starved. So, if you link the two, how do the behavior issues start? She obviously started getting extremely reactive. If she saw small children, she would lunge, she would bite. And
mm,
I was told this by her rescuer in Bombay. She was told that if I put this pup up for adoption, 9 chances out of 10 she will either get returned, or we will have issues. She might get just passed around like a card, because not a lot of people want to go into the behavior side and make changes and put in the effort, mainly the time investment and the effort, to make the changes, because you have to see the story of the background of a pup. Now, true enough, by the time Forrest came to me, she was about 5.5 months old. And the first day that very kindly, one of my now friend, at the beginning, there were clients again of mine who had an aggressive pup. They offered to kindly bring them from Bombay. And when I touched her, from the head towards the flank, there she was, got my hand straight away. And imagine not even at that age can have a very, very severe bite force.
Yeah.
I was also instructed that I should not try her, introduction to small kids. I don't give up easily. I'm not a behaviorist or a trainer for no reason. And I have a lot of small kids who train with their pups as well with me. So I gave it 2 days. She came home, and of course, she had 9 other older dogs and some quite young monitoring her. So she immediately got into her pack mode to understand who she had to behave in what way. It's like being in a joint family.
Yeah.
She also met cats for the first time. And believe you me, she didn't chase or react, because she just looked around and saw that nobody else was chasing them. The cats were freely between their paws and between their legs. So, well, right after, within 2 days, and yes, we killed the food aggression immediately. She was not resource guarding, because she saw that everybody was eating pretty much in a common area with the food being handed over. So we killed the food aggression right away. And then exactly in, I think, less than 48 hours, I had some group training session, and I had a 7-year-old fearless child who comes with his pup. And the next thing we know, that Forrest was doing heel work with little Daniel.
Wow.
It was brilliant. And now, because she's 8 months old, a big pup, a sizable big pup, but extremely loved by children, because she's very cuddly, just the way kids would like her to be. And I had vouched her rescuer that I will make a therapy dog out of her.
That's amazing, because when I saw Forrest and when I interacted with her, she was anything but just a harmless
Reactive.
little. Yeah, I mean, she just wanted to cuddle. She just wanted to run around, play, and how much she loves water. That's crazy. But which kind of brings me to the topic that we kind of started off today. That we do see a lot of young people wanting to bring in large working breeds at home. And yes, I know this fascination for big dogs because I have one as well. I love being around them. And I know a lot of people love being around them. However, we've spoken about this, that they do have their specific needs. They have a certain temperament. I just want to start with, discussing big dogs in urban settings. What are the challenges pet parents can anticipate when they bring in a big dog inside their house?
Very rightly so, Prashant, especially in India that we are facing currently. The urban setups, as we know, the open spaces are shrinking. There's hardly any out in the cities now, which we would see open grounds where people could just go, children could go and play freely. They just don't exist anymore.
Right.
And for animals, it's a double challenge, because most places, if you go to, there's a board saying no dogs.
Correct.
That becomes a huge challenge for pet parents. And yes, again, where people, in Pune used to mostly live in bungalows when, like, I was a college student. And today you see they're practically all cooped up in flats, which is all right. Because see, since I have extensively worked abroad, be it, in the middle of central London, or be it in Manhattan, people do have dogs, and people do have large dogs. The first point that people need to keep in mind when you are getting a large breed is mostly they're working breeds that have been bred for a certain task. Somebody who wants to keep a working breed in a flat, fine by me, but please make sure that 2 things are taken care of at the start. One is their training, basic training, which are honestly safety related. Since I come from a solid background of aviation, like more than a very long time that I was flying. So safety for me is, always primary, and be it your pets, be it yourself, safety. So for safety related, there's certain key commands that has to be absolutely, dealt with and in right since they're little pups, because believe you me, but I have seen a pup die because something as basic as a recall exercise had
Hmm.
not really been looked into.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
I suspect that there are certain commands they have to instill it from the day a puppy or even a big dog comes home. The
Right.
second, the second, their exercise routine.
Hmm.
Please, please, if you're a pet parent, be, be inquisitive and adventurous enough to find out open spaces around your houses, your housing societies, wherever, because
Hmm.
remember, there's something for all dogs across. They need something called sniffing time. Okay, that
Hmm.
sniffing time is extremely important because that's important for their brain, not just physiologically. A
Hmm.
sniffing time for a dog, and why it is so important and off leash, it's the same as when you, as a human, want to catch up on your news, you want to catch up on social media, you want to catch up on
Hmm.
gossip. That
True.
is what sniffing time is about for a dog, and they
Hmm.
need
Hmm.
it. You will see a lot of pet parents saying, "Oh my God, they're going, they're going absolutely manic inside the house." Yes, be it something even as small as, say, a West Highland Terrier, but they have been bred to hunt rodents. Okay,
Yeah.
now if they are not getting that task for which they had been bred, it's very, very, very much present in the genes.
Got it.
It
Got
will
it.
come out in either, destructive behavior inside the house, or they can be
Hmm.
bored, they can be depressed. And don't think these are some fancy terms being used by a canine behaviorist. These are for real, and
Yeah.
that affect their physical health as much as you and I as humans have the
Hmm.
issues.
Understood. No, I saw all the dogs, and I just keep recalling Forrest because I was just my attention was so much on her. Sorry about that. Next time
Yeah,
I'll pay
because she
attention
wanted
to
to
others.
sit on your lap, Prashant. She thinks she's this big lap puppy. Yeah.
She is, and she was sniffing so much. In fact, I have some pictures and videos of her just going around the bushes and sniffing all sorts of weeds and grass and everything that was kept there. But one question I do want to ask you, and I think a lot of people might want to know, is that when we say working breeds or large dogs, what are the breeds we consider under them? Is
See,
is a golden
because there's a
retriever
there's a
also?
whole
Yeah.
list of those.
Hmm.
However, I will tell you the most popular ones that you get to see, especially in India, it's increasing. It's increasing by leaps and bounds, especially in the urban areas.
Right.
And I'm sorry if you think I'm being candid, but then I see these people with huskies, and the huskies are taking them for walks, and I'm thinking, my God, another one bites the bullet. So, anyways, I'll tell you the breeds which are increasingly popular, apart from the older ones which were already there. You will get
Hmm.
to see a whole load of Siberian Huskies,
Hmm.
Alaskan Malamutes. You will get to
Hmm.
see German Shepherds, Rottweilers.
Correct.
Um, yeah, those had been there for a while, but then German Shepherds, Rottweilers, Doberman, then you have the pit bulls. You
Hmm.
also, that's a huge taboo now, unfortunately, but trust me, they're wonderful dogs. So
Hmm.
you have a huge line of these. Then you have Saint Bernards, and Saint
Hmm.
Bernards and Huskies and Malamutes are also a challenge because they're really not meant for this weather condition. I mean,
Correct.
unless you're living in Himachal or you're living in, Kashmir Valley or of somewhere probably in Mizoram,
Hmm.
where the
Hmm.
weather conditions are conducive. But they're
Hmm.
really not quite meant for this tropical weather.
Yeah,
So double whammy how you manage that.
got it. I want to touch upon, and before we go further, guys, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them down in comments, and I'll try and address those with Tanushree as we go along. But one thing that really intrigued me in this topic, Tanushree, was when you were telling me some incidents of things not gone very well, things in fact gone horribly wrong, with people bringing in the working breeds home and then not being able to really give them time, attention. So while I don't think the intention is not to scare anybody off, but I think it's important to be aware of what could go wrong. So I would love it if you could share one or two instances of what's the worst that could happen.
See, also, if I before I go ahead, you should also know about people going all over now getting hounds.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot
Okay.
of people find very cute, but they don't know that they actually belong to the family of hounds, are
Hmm.
the beagles. It's a
Hmm.
very popular breed, in urban areas, and people, you will see, oh, such a cute beagle. But
Right.
they're also the people who are struggling, most of them. People living in flats, even in small houses, whether they're in a row house or a small bungalow without too much of open space. There are
Right.
beagles, there are dachshunds, and of course the larger hounds, just keep them out of the way. Your, Caravan hounds or the greyhounds and things. The fact is, see, I'll tell you, one of the worst cases that I often get contacted for are aggression.
Got it.
That is for real. That is dangerous, both to people, to other dogs, and that is something people have to be aware of. Now, one has to see when we go to the background of understanding why is the aggression happening. See, as a behaviorist, my job is to go to the why of the problem.
Correct.
Not fix as a band-aid, case. I have to go to the entirety of it to get it out of the way. One of the worst cases has come to me, and believe you me, people, I purposely did not mention the retrievers because I'm sure everybody knows people have beautiful golden retrievers and beautiful Labrador retrievers. Little do they put the effort to know they are retrievers. The name says it all. They had been bred to retrieve prey.
Yeah.
Okay? And people were hunters and they would hunt, and these Labrador retrievers and the spaniels, they had been bred for field trials to go and retrieve these prey. So they're called gun dogs. Okay? And they're so commonly seen.
Yeah.
And also, unfortunately, so commonly abandoned nowadays. Because one of the worst cases was a young doctor. She's a human doctor. And she called me hysterically. I don't normally would entertain a call at that time, somewhere close to midnight, that her lovely golden retriever, who they had bought at the age of probably, I think, 2 or 3 months, had bitten her father viciously within a span of 15 days. Yes, it's unthinkable, a beautiful golden retriever biting somebody like that. And it's for real. And I then agreed to give her an emergency appointment and a session the next day. And trust me when I say this, I went and saw those bites and they were nasty. They were really nasty. I, of course, went into the whole psyche because the dog, to be honest, just came and practically wanted to come and sit on my lap. That's how friendly this golden retriever is. However, for a dog, and she had sent me the videos from the previous night, he had let out blood-curdling growls. He meant business that he wanted to attack.
I can never imagine a retriever doing that, a golden retriever doing that. Like, it's an unthinkable image. Yeah. Okay. And then what was the reason that you diagnosed?
See, the outcome, the reason that I put together all the pieces and I showed it to them. They had brought him as a pup. They were first-time pet owners. They have not gotten into any kind of basic training, just the basics of the dog not having resource guarding, the dog being cool about, people giving them food or not having food aggression. Just the dog doing a regular recall. When you call the dog has to come back to you. That much sense, I'm sure every, even a lay person will have. None of that had been looked into. Now this dog has become a big, nearly a 38-kilo retriever.
Correct.
And then to compound the problem, they have also brought home a German Shepherd puppy. They live on a penthouse with enough space. They didn't have, I can't even say what was in order. I'm not saying they didn't love the dog any less. The food was not in order the way the food should be. There was no training in order. And there was no structure for the dog to follow. Please understand, dogs as pack animals love structure. When you don't give them structure, they start making their own structures, and that's when trouble begins.
Understood. I've heard about this.
There were red flags. It's not that there were no red flags. The dog had been doing a lot of things which they had described and I watched and had just gone unchecked.
Yeah.
If you're a first-time pet parent, I'm not saying that, there's no information on Google or there's no information on YouTube, but those information are for people who are experienced.
Correct.
Virtual is great, like we're having a virtual session today, but understand dogs are for real, training is for real, handling is for real.
Which actually...
If somebody's going in for a trainer, looking out for a trainer, I would not say, yes, I do happen to have my certificate, my graduate certification from UK, but it's not the piece of paper that I would wave to say, oh, I'm a trainer and I'm the best. No.
Right.
What one really look into is the number of years of work X one has had. Even after
Correct.
my graduate certification, trust me when I say this, Prashant, but I never even flaunted myself as a full-fledged trainer in India or abroad. I still decided to work ahead with my mentor in the UK,
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
course, more so in the US, because I wanted to gain that much more knowledge and live handling experience.
Absolutely. I mean, every dog is different, and with so
Every
many
single dog
factors.
is different.
Absolutely. You mentioned something very interesting, Tanushree, about the basics not being in place in the case of this golden retriever, right? I'm guessing that that's a case with a lot of new young pet parents, especially now that, while it's very heartening to see that people have opened their homes to dogs and cats and pets in general, but can you talk a little bit more about for new pet parents, why is it important to consult with either a behaviorist or an expert before they bring in the dog home? I mean, we know that, even when we go in for adoptions, there are home visits done and you check the surroundings of the person and lifestyle of the person. But can you talk a little bit more about that preparation before even a dog comes in home? Why does that play such a crucial role? And it's definitely not to be missed.
Well, I would say this more for the young pet parents for the
Hmm.
simple reason. You see, I know a lot of youngsters. You see, I also have a different business where I deal with a lot of small
Hmm.
kids. And a
Hmm.
lot of these kids are all into about, oh, my parents don't want me to have a pet when I'm going to grow up and I'm going to go and get myself a pet. And they're very into about it. And I know that
Right.
they are, focused enough that when they grow up, they will get those pets.
Hmm.
However, now, little bits. Now, these same kids who have never been allowed a pet inside the house, all they have really done is gone and visited their friends or visited their relatives who have, a dog or cat at home. And the only interaction they've had are the goody interaction, which means
Correct.
they always cuddled them, played with them. They have not seen the responsibility part of owning a pet. Okay,
Correct.
or being a pet
Absolutely.
parent, as we say today.
Hmm.
Um, the responsibilities obviously comes with the real groundwork of getting your
Yes.
hands dirty,
Hmm.
just like you would have with an infant back home.
Hmm.
That is never in the picture. And of course, Instagram is great, but there are also some great videos which you see perfectly trained dogs doing everything. Nobody goes behind the scenes to see how much work, how much
Work.
time investment has gone into it, right?
Correct.
Most young people are young professionals or they're working full time. Now that the pandemic, it's not over, but work from home is getting over. So
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
is going to get into offices. So this part is very important to understand what are the real responsibilities, what is the time investment, what are the finances needed.
Correct.
Everything has to be in order, and thankfully, at least even in India now, there are some companies which are offering pet insurance. And
Right.
I would definitely say to people, especially with large breeds, because large breeds also have very high expenses. For
Hmm.
you have to understand the expenses is not because of the breed, but a lot of
Hmm.
and of course is from a company where they are into manufacturing medicines as well. And you have to understand for large breed the dosages are much higher than a small dog, so the
Correct.
cost multiplies. So all of
Correct.
this, the physical space, the time investment, the
Hmm.
behind the scenes, the dirty work is as we call it, that you have
Hmm.
to, when pup, you have to clean their pee and poop. It's got to be there. Going to be accidents at home.
Right.
If a dog goes old, they're again going to be high maintenance. There are sometimes dogs who might go incontinent, who might go, there might be health issues.
Absolutely.
They have to understand that when you're, especially if somebody is bringing home a puppy, it's got to be a 12 to 15 years of hard work, commitment, responsibility, and of course, love.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
kids who will never grow up. They'll train well,
Yeah.
but they are not going to grow up. They will need you every step of the way.
No, absolutely. And I think a point that you mentioned is super important. That I think while a lot of us tend to get attracted towards animals because of all the positives and all the fun side and the loving adoration we
All the
see,
cuteness.
all the cute, especially on Instagram, right? And there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's beautiful that people are so happy with their pets that they want to put out pictures and videos. But behind the scenes, what doesn't, and which is, I think, why we are having this conversation, it's important to know the reality behind it. And it's not bad, but it's just something you have to walk very mindfully into, knowing that you have to take responsibility. And I think a couple of points that you mentioned, finance is very little discussed. I don't know how many pet parents actually sit down and do a little tissue paper calculation of
Do the
how
math.
much am I? Yeah, do the math. It's super important. I have done it in the past, and I know and happy to actually do a session in some time, which focuses on the costs of bringing up a pet and what people need to be aware of. The other part is the time investment, because again, with especially with younger people who are working professionals, with them going in and out of house, again, it's not impossible to have a dog at home, I would presume, but you have to train the dog really well so that they don't suffer from all the issues when parents are away, separation, guarding, etc.,
Separation
etc.
anxieties and related issues of behavior. Yes. Um,
Absolutely. Go
Another
on, please.
reason, Prashant,
Hmm.
if I can bring it in very quickly,
Yeah.
since you see, since I had extensively trained in the UK, both for my certification and otherwise my work, uh, the government there actually has a program called Good Citizens of
Hmm.
Pet Owners.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And they have a bronze, silver, and gold level of it,
Lovely.
of responsible pet parenting, which is very good because see, everybody ends up sitting in India, they think, oh, all these countries, be it UK, be it Canada, be it Australia, they're so pet friendly.
Pet
Yes,
friendly.
they are pet friendly, but also, do any of you even know that a little bit of out of the line behavior, and in countries like Australia, it's like if your pet is barking at home,
Hmm.
they can report to animal control, and the next thing you know, animal control is at your door. You are given a
Correct.
short window of getting your dog trained.
Hmm.
Somebody, not from the local body, somebody from the government office will then come and assess your dog, whether
Hmm.
it is fit to be in the urban setup that you're living in. If they don't find the dog fit
Hmm.
to be around people or according to their standards of training, they will either impound the dog, and the dog will become state's property, and they will decide
Correct.
where to be, or or a lot of the times the dog is put to sleep.
I've heard about a lot of these cases
It's
through
very
different
unfortunate.
reports. Yeah. Yeah.
Trust
You know,
me,
but
in India you get away with it much easily.
one thing I do want to call out here, and this is again comes on the back of a conversation that we keep having, is that you said that whether the dog is fit or not to live. I think it's at the end of the day, it becomes a responsibility of the owner slash parent, however you may choose to call yourself. Are you fit enough to keep a dog or a pet at home? Is more so instead of, and I see a lot of this happening with pet parents, is they're like, अरे मेरा dog तो बहुत aggressive है, मेरा dog तो किसी की सुनता नहीं है. You start over humanizing them at some point, and you want them to behave like human kids would grow up and listen. But the fact is, it's on you to take responsibility of what your pet is doing, not on them, right?
Absolutely right, Prashant. I see people coming, pet parents coming into the veterinary clinic, for example,
Hmm. Hmm.
and saying, "अरे डॉक्टर साहब वो मेरे से नहीं संभलता है. Oh, he gets very aggressive." Yeah, see, a pet's clinic is not a pleasant space for any animal,
Correct.
for obvious
Correct.
reasons. And then, you already see this really anxious and nervous pet, and then they're
Hmm.
muzzling it. And I've seen that they're so nervous that sometimes they're just, pooping out of nervousness. You're making the medical, condition go worse, because
Correct.
sometimes this, you will not get the accurate temperature, you will not get the accurate heartbeat, which is bad enough by itself. Now,
Correct.
one thing, very small thing, I introduced it right at the beginning with my training, classes, and I do it with all the pet parents who come with small pups, especially, or
Hmm.
slightly older pups, is the module called veterinary ready. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
had not really seen a lot of people do it here, but other day there was a vet who's written on Facebook, I can't remember his name, but he has said if any trainer or any pet parent is doing that, I would thank them. That we
Got
are
it.
veterinarians, we are here to do a job, but to get the pet to at least even stand on the examination table, it's your job, it's not the vet's job. You know,
Interesting.
and to say that I cannot handle my own dog, there are times I'm visiting the vet and I see pet
Hmm.
parents behaving in this irresponsible manner. As
Hmm.
if I can't handle my pet. I literally, I snap out and I say, whose pet is it? It's not the vet's pet,
Correct. Correct.
right? So these are real cases. These are the reality that we see all the time. And
I just want to, sorry, go on, please. Please finish what you were saying. Sorry to cut
people
you.
have to understand that there is a lot of real responsibility involved here, and they first of all have to step in to say, I take onus.
Yeah.
In a matter, I will tell you, Prashant, there are a lot of people, especially young kids, when they come to me, saying,
Hmm.
"Oh, mom has said to talk to you because I want a pet." And then I just quietly sit them down and I say, "Which class are you in?" And they'll say, "Oh,
Hmm.
I'm in." Where are you going to be in the next 10 years? And then they have no clue,
Correct.
because I see the pets are not the parents' pets. It's your pet. You start taking onus.
Absolutely.
Till the time
Absolutely.
that sinks into us, I know some older children who are working have taken on a dog, couldn't
Manage
manage,
it.
put it on their elderly parents. That's not fair. That's not done. They didn't
Hmm.
ask for
Hmm.
the dog, not if the dog asked to be bought or adopted.
Absolutely.
You have done it. You have to first get it in there that I am going to step in. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to be a responsible pet parent.
You
And for
know,
this same reason, Prashant, sorry, I'm
hmm.
just,
Please, please go on.
uh, for this same reason, I tell a lot of people who are keen to go and buy or adopt, I say, first, can you just foster?
Yeah.
Because we are always looking for foster homes for pets who have been surrendered or abandoned,
Hmm.
and I say fostering a pet is absolutely no different than having a pet, because as a foster parent you have to take them out for walks, you have to clean, if they mess up, you have to pick up after them on the
Correct.
streets. It's exactly the same. So I said, be a foster for 15 to 20 days, you will get A to Z of what you really need as a pet parent,
Absolutely.
and then decide whether you want to bring it, be it a cat, be it a dog. I say
Yeah.
that for all, because people
Correct.
think, oh, cats will just take care of themselves. No. Prashant is
Ask
a
me
cat
about it.
parent, he will tell you.
Ask me about it. I will not go into that today. It's an interesting topic, but I do want to say something was coming to my head, and I think it's a great idea. Maybe we'll do something about it. Perhaps is prepping pet parent preparation, sort of a camp, right? A 15-day thing where you actually foster, and I love that idea. I think if we can implement it in some form and help some pet parents who want to bring the pets home. But the other thing that really stuck out in that is, I'll quote from Superman: with great love comes great responsibility instead of great power. I think that's the
True.
essence of this, right? If you want to experience the love a pet can bring, you have to take responsibility for their well-being, because for 15 years of their life, they're going to be just one big baby. That's what they are. Okay, so I'm gonna pivot a little bit, Tanushree, now to the second part of the conversation, which is we've spoken, of course, about bringing big breeds home, working breeds home, making sure that the basic training is done, consultation with a behavior expert is done before bringing them home, and making sure resource guarding, basic aggression, recall, etc., is taken care of. The second part here is, which I know you are super passionate about, as am I, is there is also a load of indies on our streets. And while people are very, very excited, and nothing wrong with the other breeds at all, we all love all dogs equally. But unfortunately, what's happening is indies are getting ignored, or they're getting sidelined. And
Sideline.
yeah, while I know that there are a lot of people internationally who want to adopt indies, are people in India are a little hesitant. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I know and we'll go to Saiba's story after this, but I want to talk about, why do so few people, in your experience, don't bring indies home? What are the myths? What are the weird things that they have in their mind?
Yeah, so I'm coming to that, Prashant. It's a very, very good and a very valid question, because see, I've been working with street animals right from the time I was in Mumbai, and later. It's been, I think, more than honestly quarter of a century that I'm working with street animals.
Hmm.
And what has been my experience is, see, in India, what happens is it's not just stray dogs, but stray dogs, cats, buffaloes, donkeys. You get to see them on the streets, even
Hmm.
if it is the financial capital of India, in a place like Bombay, you see them everywhere. Now,
Yeah.
I think as kids, a lot of Indians just grow up, seeing this as a normal thing on streets,
Hmm.
meaning
Hmm.
it's a normal occurrence that they see street dogs, and it's in
Correct.
their head that these dogs are supposed to be on the streets,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
these cows are supposed to be on the streets,
Right.
or one stray pony wandering just short of getting hit by vehicles is probably normal.
Hmm. Hmm.
And because there is no awareness into them from their parents either to say this is not the done thing, this
Hmm.
stray dog is probably a stray because somebody has put him out on the street, or some irresponsible pet parent has let out their, say, non-neutered dog on the street, and it has gone and mated with some, and they have just multiplied.
Right.
We also do not have the policy in India, unlike some of the Western countries, where stray animals are picked up by
Hmm.
the shelters, by the animal control, offices. They are picked up, and you'll really not see any stray animals on the
Hmm.
streets of, say, New York or London or Budapest or any of that. You will just not see these, out on the streets.
Right.
However, in India, it is you get out of your house and there'll be probably three dogs wagging their tails and coming at you, or
Right.
or in a lot of instances they're scared and trying to hide seeing you. So
Hmm.
I think the sensitivity lacks there.
Hmm. Hmm.
And also, it's very unfortunate, but it's true. It's this whole hangover of having imported breeds in your homes. The
Hmm.
street dogs or the indies are for the streets, and the imported dogs are what we are going to bring home.
Correct.
So where we
Correct.
have more foreigners, say Westerners, welcoming our own indies who have flown thousands of kilometers into, say, Canada or US or wherever, and
Hmm.
whereas our own, are Indians who are always saying we're proud to be Indian, but I don't think they're very proud to be Indian,
Indian
indie
indie
or,
parents. Yeah.
it's
I've
very
also heard.
unfortunate. And I always say that, see, indies per se, and I
Hmm.
have five of them, trust me, uh, they have been, they're made for this country. They have come out of being in this country. They're
Hmm.
weather conducive. They are robust as far as health goes. They have very, very little medical conditions if they
Correct.
are compared otherwise to the imported breeds that we have brought in.
Hmm.
They have high immunity. And
Hmm.
also, the last but not the least, they are superbly intelligent. Superbly.
Hmm.
My oldest dog in my pack is a three-legged 11-year-old Indie. And I'm
Yeah.
saying this to a few. I've had him. He's one of the only dogs that I picked up from the PMC pound when he
Hmm.
was probably 6 weeks and he was limping, and I thought I could treat it. Didn't know that he had a nerve paralysis due to a vehicle hit. So he
Hmm.
became an amputee when he was very young, and
Hmm.
he's 11 today. He's on no supplements. He still can do a 7 to 8 kilometer of trek, a
Yeah.
full trek over the hills, over through the ponds. He can do everything, and he's a one command dog. If I have to say something to my juveniles three times, the
Hmm.
breed
You just have
to
to tell
accompany
them.
me now.
Yeah.
But this old Indian dog of mine and my other Indies, I have to tell them once, and that
Hmm.
one command is followed like that. So
Yeah.
if somebody is going to question their intelligence, please don't do that. And the other thing, Prashant, it is very unfortunate. I once heard a qualified lawyer in Kolkata say this, and he was saying this over the phone, and I got him after that. He said,
Hmm.
"Oh, yes, he's supposedly a dog lover, always had dogs." He
Hmm.
says, he's telling somebody over the phone, yes, if you want to get a dog, get it from a breeder, because I think the person was asking if he can pick one from the road. And he said, if you get one from the road, be rest assured you cannot be certain who he is going to go and bite.
Yeah.
Why would
I've
any
heard
dog
that one.
bite you? Why?
Correct.
Least of all an Indie.
I think there is this strange sort of a bias, and pardon my words because they are crude, but that's how people think in India even now. Ye gali ka kutta hai, ye ghar ka kutta hai. That bias still exists in our mind, and as bad as it sounds, it's something that we all should ideally work towards because. I mean, Anushka actually asked a I think it's a very big question that she asked, and let's try and address it. What can we do to address the streeties in the country, the problem that they face? Her question was, how do we solve the stray dog problem in India? I don't know if there is one cut solution, but what are your views on it? In your view, what can a layperson, an animal lover do?
See, the fact is, first of all, we have to address it as something existing, but not as a problem. It is not a problem. We are making it as a problem, especially in the urban centers, it's a problem because the societies are creating a problem. The society rules, which in most cases is illegal, what they're coming out with, it's unconstitutional about the community animals who actually lived there before probably those buildings came up. Okay.
Correct.
A lot of people don't know it. They are coming up with the rules that, oh, we don't allow dogs, we don't allow pets. A lot of you should know that most of this is illegal and it can be challenged in a court of law.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay? People don't know the legalities. So the first thing is the mindset. You will get to see in newspapers it's written stray dog menace or nuisance. Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, yes. So first of all, we have to treat it as an existing social condition and not a problem.
Correct.
After that, we decide how to make the condition better. So it's only through education and awareness is when we change the mindset.
Absolutely. I have another follow-up question on that, which is Kushal asked this very interestingly, and Kushal happens to be also a trainer. And he's asking, why do so many indies seem to be low on confidence? I don't know. I think it's his experience that he's sharing here. But is that true?
Sorry?
Why do indies tend to be low on confidence when they get indies? What is the reason behind that? Can you shed some light on that?
Yes, well, I will tell you one thing, and one is, it's a very good question. One is this, another thing I'll tell you as we go on. See, what happens is indies who are picked up right from the streets, okay, without any in-between rehabilitation, if they have been picked up off the streets when they are, say, 5-6 months old, by 5-6 months old, or even if they're even older, okay, if they've not been picked up since they were like 3-4 weeks old, if they've been picked up as slightly older puppies, they have already seen the knocks of life, as we put it. You know, if you see on the streets, people will drive past, there'll be a dog sleeping. They can see, even if the dog is sleeping at the corner somewhere, they will just not bother. They will simply go either injuring or hitting the dog or doing one of those things. You will see, young teenage kids walking on the streets. And these I'm talking about more, not the regular college goer kids and things, but the kids who you just see a lot of time, they're just on the streets by themselves. And people for no reason pick up a stick or pick up a stone and just hit a sleeping dog for no reason. Or there are people, they will be going and suddenly they'll just douse a dog with some water.
Correct.
There are no logical explanations to these except for insensitive behavior. Maybe those kids or those people don't know any better. But I see absolutely no reason why any human does not see reason in not bothering another creature who's simply being by the side of the road. Now, when these things happen, when these things happen, you will see a lot of the indies, if you actually go out on the streets, unless they have dedicated, responsible feeders, you will see they will not even want to come anywhere near you.
I just experienced
indies that I was feeding, even after 2 years of dedicated feeding throughout the lockdown, they would see my truck, they would run along. But except one, the other two, even when I would put food down, and I used to, believe me, put down good food, they would wait for me to move from there to have their food because they are so terrified of being kicked, of being poked, of being splashed upon for no fault of their own.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I first-hand witnessed this 2 days back. I stopped by a road to feed a dog, and she doesn't live with the pack there. She lives by herself in a little shanty corner, and I know that whenever I stop next to her, she never comes up to me. She waits for me to put the food, leave, and then she'll come and eat. And it's become an accepted sort of a relationship between us, so we both are happy about it. But it's very true. So you're saying that the lack of confidence is essentially because of all the nonsense that these guys have to go through on the streets, experiences. I had a very, very interesting question, and I think a very relevant one, which is, a lot of us, including myself, whenever we see a dog, especially the ones who are not doing that well, my first instinct is, hey, can I take you home, please? Can I take care of you? And I know a lot of people who do that as well. What are the things? Is it possible to just pick up a dog off the street and adopt it? Are there any legalities involved in it? What should people be mindful about, if at all anybody wants to do that?
So see, if a stray dog is basically a dog who doesn't have any ownership, right?
Hmm.
See, there is no rule in the constitution which says that you cannot just pick up a dog off the streets and adopt. There is no such
Hmm.
rule.
Hmm.
However, in cities like Pune, Bombay nowadays, you will see Delhi, all of these cities, thankfully, thanks to our mindful citizens, responsible citizens, there are lots of groups in all different areas. And I must say this
Hmm.
to the east of Pune, most of east of Pune is extremely well organized in this. Okay,
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
talking about areas like starting from say Vimanagar, Kalyanagar, and all these areas have their specific feeder groups.
Correct.
Now, a lot of these feeders, you will also, that's why get to see, when you see some of the strays, you will see them with reflective collars, you'll see
Absolutely.
them, or if they've been neutered and vaccinated, you will see those, the PMC
Hmm.
puts the collars with the numbers so that it is accounted for that they have been neutered and vaccinated and they cannot be relocated legally. So
Correct.
if one wants to pick up a dog like that, it's always good. Suppose you are in a certain area, find out who are the feeders in that area. And I'll tell you a lot of the local, the food vendors and all on the streets, they will tell you that, oh, wo madam aati hai, or this guy comes to feed. So it's a
Correct.
good thing to say that I'm leaving my number. Can you inform so and so that I have taken this dog home? And if you are going to take a dog home off the street suddenly, you have
Hmm.
to care that do you already have an animal at home, because there can
Hmm.
be diseases that you have to be mindful of, that
Hmm.
you should straight away, instead of taking it straight home, unless you have a separate area where they can be observed or before the vaccines and everything is done, I would say go straight to a veterinarian's clinic,
Yeah.
get all the medicals done first, because unfortunately in India today still rabies is endemic to India.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's a fact. I mean, I've dealt with a case like that personally once,
Hmm.
and it's not pleasant, and there is really no safety from that. So I would
So.
suggest, you want to pick up a dog like all by yourself, by all means
Hmm.
do it, but just see the safety. If there are dogs around, if there are adult dogs around, or whatever the dogs are around, see that are they diseased, are they healthy, what are if they're feeders, they are the best source of information for you. Inform
Yeah.
them, get information from them. That is a better
Got
way
it.
to go.
Got it. So just be inform the local feeders and go to a vet straight up. The other extension of this, Tanushree, the same question is that how important it is to register your pet with the local body. Um, a lot of people ask this question. Could you share your views on it?
Well, the rule says that you are supposed to register with the PMC, like whichever the municipal corporation is. So there is a form which is available online also, and there is also you can go directly to their ward office, and they give you what they call a billa number, and so the
Hmm.
dog is registered. You get it 1 year earlier. They used to give you, because all the costs vary as well. There's one for 3 years, one for 1 year, but it can be a little difficult because sometimes I have tried doing that online and it can be very, very exhausting. The form will not download or something will get
Hmm.
lost. So it takes a little time, but it's easier going and doing it physically from the ward office.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, the main reason to do this is, to be honest, if you go and see, I think probably 80% pet parents don't have it, because
Correct.
there's a gray area
Hmm.
about registering your pet. It's not very specifically looked into.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, societies are trying to make it a standardized rule to say that all pets should be registered and they should have a copy of that. See, in a way, it is quite responsible to do it, because then
Correct.
you have a head count as to what are the pets who are actually safe or not safe, vaccinated, not vaccinated, because God forbid an incident happens in a society. How do you get to know whether the dog is vaccinated or not, or whoever's been
Correct.
hurt or whatever?
Correct.
So I think being a responsible pet parent, I think those things
Hmm.
can happen. But again, you see, even the registration part, you can get a billa number, but it also needs to have all the details that, whether the dog is vaccinated, whether the dog is neutered, blah, blah, blah. All that
Correct.
information also go in. Yeah.
Understood. Understood. No, I think it's a good practice. Part of being responsible of getting your dog registered or your cat registered, for that matter. The other thing that was interesting that stood out to me when you were talking was about these feeding groups, right? And I wanted to ask you that, say, people who are listening in on this session may want to go and join one of these feeding groups, be a part of it. How do they? What are the places they can find them? What are the organizations that they could possibly approach and join, etc., etc. And if you could also talk a little bit about what SAS does and what you guys do, and how could people reach out to you, etc.
Well, SAS, that is Society for Animal Safety, is basically a NGO which is functioning in 7 states across India right now. And we deal only in the core legal part of animal cruelty or illegal practices involving animals. And when I say animals, I mean all animals
All
across the board.
animals. Yeah.
Be it a buffalo or a cat or a pony or a wild animal, all animals across the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we were the first NGO that had an online portal where one could report a cruelty case.
Hmm.
Okay, you can still report a cruelty case. We also have a helpline that answers your cruelty cases. And I'll tell you, this is very unfortunate. But if you see 10 cases in a day that is being registered or called for, to our coordinators, about 8 to 9 out of that are either feeder harassments or society harassments. So I also urge every pet parent to know that you should be aware of your rights living in a society regarding your pet, or if you're feeding a stray animal. However, I would urge all feeder groups, and there are lots of them across Pune. They're doing very good work. There is Tails and Trees, which is from the Hadapsar and Amnora, Magarpata, that area. Then you have the Sinhagad Animal Rescuers Trust. You have the Mannagar Animal Savers. You have Kalyani Nagar. They are doing amazing job. And of course, I cannot miss out Vadgaon Sheri. Vadgaon Sheri Animal Savers Group is brilliant because the person who is at the hem of things, she also works. This is the best part. See about Vadgaon Sheri Animal Savers and SAS. We have done so much work together because the one who heads Vadgaon Sheri Animal Savers have voluntarily agreed upon to also be a SAS official, because this is where say that animal NGOs or groups should unite and work. Not try to
Absolutely.
stand alone, because when you unite and work, you can do so much more work and better work together.
Yeah.
So they run this brilliant service of, they don't just feed and medicate, but they also run a brilliant service for ambulances. Because half the time when you find an injured animal on the street, your whole thing is you might not be an expert to pick up an animal who's in pain and who's likely to bite because of that. And they run this wonderful, ambulance at a very, very reasonable cost, and they also have the contacts. If you tell them which hospital you want them to be taken to, they will do it. And you might have to wait a little because unfortunately they only have one ambulance.
Yeah.
But all these groups, you can reach out to them. However, just one word of caution to all of those who are planning to become feeders: be a responsible feeder, please. Do not take food and just throw it around footpaths and public areas where people can actually say that you're creating a hygiene situation.
Nuisance.
And also, if you're feeding, try to feed animals and get friendly so that you can catch them for neutering.
Yeah.
Neutering and vaccination, that's being safe. That's also stopping the overpopulation and the conflict that is growing out of it.
I think, basic first aid, being friendly with the animal that you're taking. I mean, as a feeder, also you take certain responsibility, right? It's not just you going and giving food. You are deciding to help an animal or a group of animals. I think, to your point, Tannushree, where all the organizations can do so much better if they join hands. I do want to put in a word here that I think it's not just NGOs and organizations. I think even brands and organizational institutes like Wiggles, for example, the idea is for this entire ecosystem to function together, for all of us to do our part so that on the whole we can make an impact which is much bigger than just individually. And whether it's new pet parents and whether it's or for community animals feeding drives, we are also always ready to kind of partner. And this is more for everybody who's listening in, that should you have any questions as a new pet parent, or should you want to have know a little more about feeding, do you want, if you see any community animals around you who are being starved, please reach out to us. You can simply reach out to us on Instagram, and we will connect you with the right kind of people, and together we will come and try and resolve your queries. Tannushree, we are almost out of time, but one last thing I want to ask you. One, if the most important tip according to you for people who want to be the first time pet parents, if it had to be one.
Yes, the first thing I would want before you go in for any pet, be it a working breed, whatever pet you're planning to get in, please read up about them. Please read up the history. I mean, today, if somebody says, I want to get a husky, please understand the husky was bred and it is still very much intact in their genes to pull sledge every day for 15 to 20 kilometers in snow. And you bring that dog and you want it to be a nice little, lap dog at home, it's not going to work. They're not going to be happy. Physical and mental health is as real for them as it is for us. And the same thing, a beagle was, it's a hound that had been bred to run along the horses to hunt a fox. And that is why they can get destructive. So please, please, please read up about the breeds, read up about what they had been bred for. And if you think in your mind you can have the time and the surroundings and the energy to keep up to those.
Absolutely. Seem to have lost Tannushree for a second. Can you guys hear me, or?
Actually, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Yeah, so it is very important that people get to understand, do you have the surroundings, do you have the bandwidth, do you have the energy to provide that particular dog that you plan to get in for whatever is intact in their genes?
Absolutely. And once you find that out, I think it's important to reach out to experts, to reach out to institutes around you who can help you get there. Because we all know how endearing it is to get a big baby home. I can vouch for it, but it's important. Like, that's the note I'm gonna end that on. That's going to be a punchline of our episode. It is with great love comes great responsibility.
Yes, absolutely.
As long as we all keep that in mind, I think we're in good place. And do, guys, a sincere request to everyone: do not overlook indies. They're all around us. We tend to get used to knowing that they'll always be around us, but bring them in home. We couldn't share Saiba's story. I know how much it is, but what I'm going to do, Tannushree, is I'm going to do a story on Saiba, and I'll get the team to put it up on our Instagram, because she's one beautiful streetie who everybody should know about. It is such a pleasure to be around her. But on that note, please be very, very responsible. Reach out to organizations around you. Reach out to us if there is any need in terms of helping with, bringing up your pet behavior issues, etc. We'll connect you to the right experts. And lastly, please do not ignore indies. They are absolutely lovely, lovely animals. Okay, so we have a request. I was going to say that no, but Anushka just said, please share Saiba's story. So we're going to give it another 5 minutes. What's the harm?
Prashant, also quickly, can I say one thing? I'm going to bring in Saiba's story for sure. Guys, also remember that when you are, it's a very nice thing. A friend of mine who's a kennel owner who said that people were asking him, why do we need a trainer? So he put it in this way, and it makes perfect sense. He said, look, I'm a graduate. He's a postgraduate banker, actually. And he said, do I say that I'm going to teach my own child how to read and write and everything? No, I decide to send my child to a school. Is the same reason why people say that reach out to a professional trainer and a behaviorist, but please do check on who they really are. It is criminal to hand over your pet, your beloved pet, to somebody who has no experience and is coming into this, because I think Prashant has said there was a very unfortunate story about how a pet got killed
this morning.
It's criminal to hand somebody over to your, which is your beloved pet, thinking that they can do something without doing a background check. So Saiba's story. Now our positive part. So Saiba actually is a beautiful girl. She's an
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Is she around you? Is there any chance you can make people meet her?
I'll have to go downstairs to get.
Okay, so you tell her story if it's possible. Do make us see. I mean, everybody falls in love with that girl when they see her. So
Yeah, well, Saiba is an indie who had been hit by a truck or bus or something when she was barely about 4 weeks old, and she was brought into Karma Foundation, which is NGO that is a critical care center for stray animals in Aundh, Pune. So she was brought in there, and they had absolutely no choice but to amputate her one of the hind legs. Now, I had met Saiba when she was barely 4 weeks old at Karma Foundation, and I was totally in love with the spirit of that girl had. Uh, they said they would have to release her back to her area, but she had no pack and she had no feeder to go back to. So I said, look, a puppy that age with no pack, with no mother, with no feeder would be very, very difficult for her to survive on the streets. So I had offered that, look, I'm going to find her a home, but a friend of mine very kindly agreed to foster her. She went
hmm.
into fostering with them, but they also had some personal issues. So by the time she was around 4 months, they could not foster her anymore. So then I came into the picture saying, okay, I'm going to foster her till I find her a home. And of course, I started training her because if she's staying with me and my
Hmm.
pack, she'll get her basic training and everything correct. She's a sprightly girl and she did brilliantly in training. Her recall, her distance recall, her you name it. Even without a hind, her sits and all the tricks are in place. And she does try to come up on her two paws, though she has one hind, but she still tries to come. And as time went by, believe it or not, we posted such beautiful videos of her doing the zoomies, I mean, Prashant will tell you how fast she is. Most of my
She's
four-legged stuff.
very fast. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's a lightning.
she's, she's fast and she swims and she's adorable. But I had not even a single inquiry for Saiba. My heart broke to see how hard me and my friends and everybody tried, and we didn't even have one person ask anything about her.
Hmm.
And then we decided that, and she's so good with kids, she's so good with everybody. So now she's under training with me to become a therapy dog because she is an inspiration to many.
That is fascinating. I mean, if we can't see Saiba right now, I'll make sure that we put up her pictures in her videos very
Please
shortly.
do. I would be very grateful because her story needs to be told because people have to understand the limitations of having a differently abled pet. The limitations are in our minds, not in their bodies. Just remember that.
Correct. Absolutely. That's another thing I'm going to remember today. That
Yeah.
limitations for, I think, any pet are in parents' mind and not in the pet's physicality or behavior. They're all just big love bugs who are out there to give as
And
much as
they're
they
just
can.
as active as anybody else, if you see.
Yeah, absolutely. Super. Thank you so much, Tannushree. This was, I didn't realize where 1 hour went and now it's 1:10 almost. But I think we will need to do another session with you because so many subtopics came out of this and so many questions that we haven't been able to address. So let's definitely set up something for perhaps in the coming few weeks. And we'll be back again. And next time, please show us your dogs, okay?
Yes, next time I'll make sure that we are in a space that they are able to meet some of them as well.
Yes, we'll try and come down to your farm and do a live from there so we can meet all of them also. It'll be fun.
Great. That would be fun.
Super. There is something, no, not a question, but humble suggestion. Community dogs. Absolutely. JHP, I don't know your name, but yes, I think language makes a lot of difference in how we start to perceive. So they are not stray, they're not straying away. They are absolutely a community animals and part of the areas hanging around here. Completely agree. Thank you for sharing that, JHP. That's such a sweet thought to bring this live to a close. Super. Thank you, Tannushree. We'll be chatting soon again. And
And
thanks,
thank you
everyone.
everyone else.
Yeah, thanks, everyone, for tuning in, making time on a Sunday. Please do check out this. This live will be available on YouTube, on Spotify, etc. So please do, whenever you want to listen in, share it with someone. Please do so. Yes, Jaladi. Thank you. Now I got your name. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye bye. You have a great Sunday, everyone.